there are three major decisions that must be made prior to retirement. And those that will address these issues can have peace of mind and confidence that they're retiring at the right time. In this video, we're going to look at all the details surrounding these three big decisions. So the first big decision we have to look at is Social Security. When are we going to take? There is no right or wrong answer for that question. It just depends on your particular situation. But you are going to have to decide when you're going to take and do proper planning. So what we have to look at first is, are you going to take before full retirement age, at full retirement age, or after full retirement age? And so let's first talk about full retirement age. Anyone born between 1943 and 1954 has a full retirement age of 66 even. And then after 1954, the government began to add 2 months to everyone's full retirement age. So if someone's born in 1955, they have a full retirement age of 66 and 2 months. If they're born in 1956, it's 66 plus 4 months. 1957, 66 and 6 months. 1958, 66 and 8 months. 1959, it's 66 plus 10 months. And then 1960 on, and so far, I think they'll change this in the future, we have a full retirement age of 67. So let's do an example real quickly. Let's say someone's born July 4th, 1958. So they have a full retirement age of 66 and 8 months. And so the way we count those 8 months is this. 66 here, so we know in 2024, July, they're going to turn 66. But we have to add 8 months to that. So what happens? So we'd count it this way. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So a person born here would actually have a full retirement age 3/1 of 2025, 66 and 8 months. And so we discussed this issue of full retirement age now. Now you know exactly what we have to do first. Calculate your full retirement age. Now, if we take before full retirement age, what that means is for every year we take early, we actually lose 6%. And so if I'm eligible for, let's say, $2,000 a month at my full retirement age, I'm going to lose 6%. So I'm going to take about $120 a month hit on my Social Security, and that reduction is going to be permanent. So again, for every year we take early, we lose about 6%. And in essence, it's really about a 0.5% per month. So 6% a year. Not only if I decide to take Social Security before my full retirement age, not only am I going to take less, and it's permanently less, also I'm going to have what's called an earnings test. And that just simply means if you decide that you're going to keep working while you're taking Social Security and you're not hit yet your full retirement age month, then what happens? You're going to be limited as to the amount of wages that you can get. So earnings test has only to do with working wages. It has nothing to do with investment income, rental income, pensions, annuities, those kinds of things at all. Only working wages. And so what happens from 62 to 65 this year, the most you can make is $21,240. If I make above that, what happens is for every $2 above, they take $1 out of my Social Security. And that money they take, they withhold is actually front loaded. And so the point is from 62 to 65, $21,240. So they'll penalize me if I make above that. Now, the year that I turn my full retirement age, now keep in mind, I'm not full retirement age yet, haven't hit that month, but the year I turn, so January up until the month I turn, that number goes up a lot. This year it's $56,520 a year, or however many months are in that. It's not prorated, it's a full annual amount. Regardless of how many months you have, you can make that amount of money. And then if we're above that, for every $3 above, they take $1 out of my check. But here's what happens. So if I take Social Security prior, I'm going to be limited. All right. But what happens if I take at my full retirement age the earnings test that we just talked about? All that earnings test. Watch this, folks. It goes away. There is no earnings test. So in my example, once someone hit 3/1/2025, they can work and make as much wages as they want. There's no consequence to their Social Security check whatsoever. But prior to that, they will be limited. Now let's go back to my example. Let's say this is their full retirement age month. When it comes to this higher amount, that means in January and February, those 2 months prior, they could have literally made $56,520 because that's an annual amount regardless of how many months you have left in that year. All right, so that's one of the benefits of taking at your full retirement age. You're going to keep working, no consequence at all to your Social Security benefit. All right. The other benefit is there's no reduction. So if I'm eligible for $2,000 at my full retirement age, that's exactly what I'm going to get. Now, if you decide that you're going to go beyond full retirement age, and by the way, you never go past 70. You just don't, because after 70, it's not going to grow. So what happens here, once I hit my full retirement age, in my example, March, if I don't take then, now what happens is that account grows at 0.67% a month, which is basically 8% a year. And so if your full retirement age was 66 and you delay until age 70, you could have grown that full retirement age benefit here a full another 32%. So in this example, we would have made $2,640. So I grew at $640. That's a lifetime increase. Now the issue is what happened. I had to give up that cash flow for 48 months, which is what, $96,000 to get that $640 increased amount. And so if you live long enough, typically early 80s, mid 80s, then you'll know that was a good decision. If someone dies before that, then they really never hit that break-even point. But here's my point. We have to decide when we're going to take Social Security, because it's a big part of our cash flow equation whenever we get into Social Security. And again, there's no right or wrong. It just depends upon your own cash flow, depends upon longevity of life, those kinds of things. But you got to make that decision. Hey, just real quick, we often hear from our viewers that they wish that they would have seen a video earlier because they made a decision that really wasn't in their best interest, or they made a decision without having this information and it cost them financially. And we don't want that to happen to you. We upload 3 times every week, and the only way you're going to know about our new videos is if you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification. We're constantly giving away brand new strategies, updates, and comparisons that you don't want to miss. So click the subscribe button below this video right now and turn on notifications so that you never miss another video. Now, the second big decision we have to make has to do with our health insurance. So if we're going to retire, we want to have health insurance. And so we have some options. Number one, we would call these underage policies, which means what? You're not yet eligible for Medicare. You're less than 65 years old. Now, keep in mind, one of the best options, if you're married to someone that's still working and you can be covered by their plan, that's probably one of your best options. Now, if you're not married or you don't have a good employer plan available through your spouse, then you certainly can get what is called an Affordable Care Act plan. This would be a plan, the marketplace plan. You go through the healthcare exchange and actually secure some kind of an individual plan through the ACA system. Okay, there's other systems out there today that are called co-op plans. Most of these are faith-based type of plans. They're really not insurance, but they function very similar to insurance, and so that also would be an option. So employer options, ACA options, possibly co-op, if that's something that would be appealing to you as well. But we've got to get insurance, so you need to look at the cost of those on a monthly basis, plus your deductible, your premiums, and your max out of pocket if you had cancer. So we got to look at that. So number 2 option would be if you are Medicare eligible, then you can obviously take Medicare. So as long as you paid into the Medicare tax system for at least 10 years, we call that 40 quarters, now you're eligible for Medicare. Now, people that start Medicare at 65 are coming in using what's called the initial enrollment period. So if you have to start at 65, this is very, very important to note that if you're not on Social Security, you have to self-enroll. You have to initiate the enrollment, and you only have 7 months to enroll into Medicare during your initial enrollment period. Now, let me tell you who you are. Anyone that is retired, anyone that's on an ACA plan, anyone that's on COBRA insurance, TRICARE, retired military, or you're employed or your spouse employed by a company that has 19 or fewer employees. Those 5 groups of people: retirement, ACA, COBRA, TRICARE for life, 19 or less employees, then you have to go on Medicare at 65. And so if you have to self-enroll, which means you're not on Social Security, we only have 7 months to do that. So it's real clear you do this the right time. So let's say someone was born, let's call it July 4, 1958. July 4, 1958, they would be eligible for Medicare July 1, 2023. July 4th, 1958, puts them 65 during the month of July. 7 months would be 3 months before they turn 65, and then 3 months after. So we have this 7-month window. But here's my whole point. If I enroll the 3 months before, which in this example would be April, May, or June, my coverage starts in July. But if I put it off for whatever reason, and I delay enrolling, if I enroll my birth month, they start me in August. Enroll in August, start me in September. Enroll in September, they're going to start me in October. If I enroll in October, the very last month month I could do it, then they'd start me 11/1/2023. All right. And so if you're eligible for Medicare and you don't have a group plan, you or your spouse is 20 or more people, then you have to start Medicare at 65. And again, Medicare is a wonderful, wonderful system. Let's talk about then the Medicare expenses that you will have to be aware of when we go on Medicare. I'm surprised at the people that think Medicare is going to be free. And I wish it was free also, but it's not. Even though we've paid into Medicare taxes all of our life, it is not going to be free. Now, one thing is premium free is Medicare A. As long as someone has 40 quarters or more, they or their spouses, then Medicare A is premium free. Why? Because we've been paying in Medicare all of our life, and Medicare says they won't charge you anything for Medicare A. Now, if someone doesn't have 40 quarters, then they actually have to buy Medicare A. 30 to 39 quarters, it costs them $278 a month for Medicare A. If they have less than 30 quarters, 29 or less, that's $506 a month for Medicare A. So 99% of the population has 40 quarters, and that's why they get A at no cost. Now, the B premium, and I'm shooting this video in 2023. If you're watching this in 2024 or beyond, it could be a different number, but right now, the Medicare Part B premium is $164.90 a month. If you're on Social Security, that Part B premium comes out of your check. Now, you got to keep this in mind. This $164.90 is really based upon your income. So if I'm starting Medicare in 2023, they're going to look back at my 2021 income. The income they look at to establish Part B premium is called my modified adjusted gross income. And that is line 11, which is AGI, plus tax-exempt interest. That's line 2A on the 1040. So line 11 plus line 2A is your modified adjusted gross income. And so the way it works, there's actually 6 different levels of income. I'm not going to go into all that during this video, but to note that it's your income that determines your Part B premium. So right now this year, if you're a single filer and you make $97,000 modified adjusted gross income or less, you would pay that $164.90 a month for your Part B. If you're a married couple, you file a joint return, $194,000 or less modified adjusted gross income, each of you again would pay the $164.90. So there's a cost for your Medicare Part B. All right, so that's part of the expenses. So when we look at health insurance, we're always looking at premiums. In addition to having to pay A and B, what you have is you have 2 other health system options. One of those options is to stay in A and B and get a supplemental plan. And that supplemental plan right now, the most popular one is a G plan. And again, we're a nationwide company, so folks, I'm just giving you an average. A G plan right now on average is about $125 a month. Another plan that's popular, is not quite as comprehensive coverage, is an N plan. And that's about $90 to $100 on a monthly basis. So it's about $30 or so a month cheaper. That's an N plan. G is almost full coverage. You got to meet a small deductible. N got a few more items, excess charges, the small deductible, and some co-pays on the N plan. But it's still a good plan. Most people today are still going with the G plan. But you see my point. When you get a supplemental plan, you're getting rid of the liability of the gaps that Medicare does not cover. Most of the gaps. And so that G plan or N plan, you're paying a premium for that to get rid of that liability. In addition to this scenario, we have to have a Part D plan, which is your prescription drug coverage. And again, right now the average is about $30 a month. So if you have an average plan, there's some that are less, some that are more, but $30, you can see we're looking at what that would be. Let's call that $165, $125. We're at $290. Drug plan of $25 or about $315 a month for Medicare. Now, if our income is higher, then we're going to pay more because they actually add surcharges. Those surcharges are called IRMAs, income-related monthly adjustment amounts. So those that are above the $97,000 or above the $194 as a couple will pay more. But the whole point is we're going to have to pay for our Medicare. So as you're budgeting for that, we're talking about $300, $315. Now, some people don't have supplemental plans today. About half the Medicare population is actually getting a plan called a replacement plan, or it's also called a C plan. And these are called Advantage plans. And what an Advantage plan does, I still have to be enrolled in Medicare A and B, but instead of paying this premium that we talked about over here for the G and the RX, about $150 a month, what happens, I don't have to pay that because instead on the Advantage plan, I pay as I go, depending on what healthcare services I need. See a specialist, pay $50. Go to the hospital, $350 a day. Have an outpatient surgery, maybe $250 or $300 copay. So an Advantage plan, you got to be enrolled in A and B, you got to pay your B premium, but you pay as you go. And those are the two systems available, Advantage plans or supplemental plans. And they really are different, other than you have to have A and B to have either one of those systems. And I got plenty of videos and instruction on that. But what we're trying to talk about as we prepare for retirement, we're going to have to plan that, yes, our Medicare is going to cost us some, and that about $300 a month range. All right. And so then let's look at just the last item that you're going to have to consider as you retire. Hey, if you're finding this video helpful, I want to invite you to go right up here and actually click on a link that will allow you to watch what I call the Medicare Essentials workshop. It's a workshop that I did that really is going to show you everything you need to know about Medicare from A to Z, how to enroll, when to enroll, and the plan options for you. So go to that link and check it out. And this last item has to do with our investments and our income. All right. Now, again, we have on our staff certified financial planners, so I'm not going to get into all the details that are going to go in that decision, but I do want to hit some of the highlights. I think it's very important for you as you look at the possibility of retirement. Number one, can you afford to retire? Can you do so? In other words, you want to look at your retirement. You want to say, what is my retirement going to look like, and can I really afford that? There's a rule of thumb that we frankly do not subscribe to at all, and that is that you only need about 80% in retirement of what you need while you've still been working. And folks, we don't believe that. Now, you have to set your own budget for sure, but we find that sometimes people retire and they actually spend more money now, because now they're traveling and doing different things. And so you have to decide, though, can you really afford to retire? And so you have to decide what is you're trying to accomplish in retirement, what's going to make retirement look good for you, and can you afford to do that? And sometimes people say, no, I frankly can't. Well, then you shouldn't. You should work another year or two, or maybe set aside more savings or whatever, but you need to really evaluate what is it going to cost you to retire. So when we help people with a budget, here's what we look at. Number one, what is it going to cost you in just living expenses? What is that? So this is going to be your housing, your insurance, different debt if you happen to have debt. And by the way, if there's any way you can go into retirement debt-free, that's the best way to be for sure. But you got to look at your living expenses. This is what's going to take you minimum to be able to live. And then what you have to look at is what we call our lifestyle expenses. In other words, what are you going to do? Are you going to travel? Are you going to take the family on a vacation? Those different kinds of things. So that's what we're considering. Can you truly afford to retire? Now, the second question we're going to look at is, do you have a plan? Now, you'll notice I said, do you have a plan? I didn't say, do you have a 401k? Folks, a 401k is wonderful, but it's not a plan. I didn't say, do you have an IRA, a traditional or a Roth IRA? Well, I hope you do, but is that really a plan? No, it's not. That's actually just an investment portfolio. So the point is, do you have a plan? And so we want people to have a plan. And by the way, hoping so is not a plan either. You want to make sure that you have a plan that is fully written out, that you have taken into consideration things such as healthcare costs, inflation, taxes. That's what a plan is going to do. It's going to look at all the aspects of what your retirement is going to look like, okay? And so also when it comes to the plan, we want to make sure that your investments match up with that plan. We tell people, we wouldn't say there's certain bad investments, but there are bad fits depending upon where your money is. You want to make sure it's fitting within the context of plan. We'll have people say, hey, do you like gold? Do you like this? Well, yeah, I like it, but the issue is it a fit for your particular financial plan? We don't want to make any investment decisions outside of the plan. The plan is the big picture. It's all written out to make sure that we stay on track and accomplish what we want with the money that you have. And then lastly, we think it's very, very important, folks, to make sure that your income is guaranteed. Guaranteed. Now, when we help people with financial planning, basically what we have 3 buckets, okay? 3 buckets. I think it's a very simple approach, but it's really also brilliant. Okay, first off, we want to make sure that you have what we would call your liquid bucket. This would be what a lot of people refer to as an emergency fund. Now, when we're still working, a lot of people say, I want at least 6 months or 12 months set aside emergency fund in case I lost my job. Well, we're talking about retiring, so you're certainly going to lose your job. So you have to decide how much money you want in your liquid bucket. This is money that you need right now. Emergency came up, a situation came up, or really, we believe anything that you know is a planned purchase within, let's say, the next 1 to maybe 3 to 5 years or so. Buy a car. You're going to take the whole family on a vacation. That kind of money. You want to be very liquid, no risk whatsoever. You want to access that money. And then we want to talk about our income bucket. right? And so income needs to be, and this is the key word for us in our planning, is guaranteed. Well, what's guaranteed? Well, Social Security is guaranteed, pensions are guaranteed, annuities are guaranteed. We just believe that people that have guaranteed income are really the people that have the most peace whenever they're in retirement. In other words, you don't want to worry, is my living expenses covered? So my lifestyle stuff, is that going to be covered? So make sure that it's guaranteed. All right, and so then once we've decided exactly what their income needs in, and here's the way we do it, we basically say, okay, what are we going to get in Social Security? What do you have in pensions, right? Or whatever you have, maybe annuities or whatever, but then for most people, it's normally some kind of a gap. Let's say we need $5,000 a month. Our Social Security is $2,500. We got a pension of $1,000, so we got a gap of $1,500. So if I need $5,000 a month, I want to make sure that that's going to be guaranteed income. And that's frankly when we will actually use what is called an annuity product. We like to use fixed index annuities. Now, we wouldn't put all our money there by any means. And by the way, I'm not a real fan of certain kinds of annuities. I think there's some that just carry a lot of risk that you shouldn't take, a lot of fees that I wouldn't want you to pay. I think that's unfortunate, but a fixed index annuity is a very good way to have a guaranteed lifetime income. And again, I wouldn't put all my money there, but if we have a gap, let's fill that up with a guaranteed income through the annuity. So we're saying make sure it's guaranteed, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And then we have our growth bucket. And this is the bucket where we can have some risk. This is where your investments are, your mutual funds, your individual stocks, and the things that you have in your portfolio. It is fine to have risk. But this money here, this is money that we really don't have to have right now. So the market goes down, hey, all my needs are met because I got guaranteed income. Market's up, well, then I can take maybe some of those profits and take that vacation. But again, this is our growth bucket. So we say don't put any more here than you have to. Don't put any more here than you have to. Just get it covered. So all the money that's left over, put in that growth bucket. And this is money that's going to grow and it's going to cover inflation and taxes and healthcare expenses and those kinds of things. So this is the way we actually approach financial planning. But here's my point. When you go into retirement, these are the things that you're going to have to consider. Social Security decision, health insurance, as well as all your investments and the income that you're going to need for your retirement.